Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. You know why you clicked on this video, so let's just get right into it. Now if you've been a fan of YouTube for as long as I have, you probably heard the name of SMOSH here and there over the years. Now for me, I've been watching these guys since the very beginning. Since I was a little boy and I watched these guys even before I even knew English. So it's a bit of a trip that after all of these years, they're still out there doing their thing. So I thought what better way to congratulate them and to thank them than through what I do best. And I mean, it's the least I can do. I've probably been watching these guys for about as long as I've been drawing. I owe them this much for all of these years of entertainment. Now I'm making this video just in case some things aren't clear in the drawings, you know. I'll be explaining some references here and there. So if you don't want to see any of that, just click on the thing below and you'll see the completed drawing. And hey, you don't need to feel guilty about skipping the video, no judgment here, alright? Thank you for watching in advance, let's get started. Alright, let me preface all of this by saying, I did something for this video that I never like to do, which is I googled the people that I watch. Now it might sound weird for me to say this, because I am a fan, I'm a fan of all of these guys, but I want to know as little as possible about these people. I've been watching Danny Gonzalez for like years now. I don't know what his wife looks like. Does he have a dog, a cat? I don't know. He just had a kid recently. Is it a boy, is it a girl? None of my business. But if I'm gonna be drawing somebody, I need them to be standing still and in a good light. So I had to Google them. Now we're gonna start with the man in the center, Spencer. Now his idea was pretty easy to come up with. You know, I've heard Shane talk about how he was the inspiration for The Chosen. The Chosen wears a wolf on his shirt. He's riding a wolf. Spencer's riding a wolf. Pretty straightforward stuff. Spencer was also pretty easy to draw because he dresses like an anime character. You know, every time I see him, he's wearing the same clothes. So he really made it easy for me. Now, Tommy, he took a little bit more research, so I watched his series where he says things are cunty, and I found the secretary bird. Now at first, I'll admit, I didn't think this bird was very cunty, but then I googled the bird, and I was wrong. So I drew him riding that bird, looking very cunty if I say so myself. Next up, we have Chance. Now he said one of the funniest things I've ever heard a man say, which is that he could jump over a car. Now I've heard men talk about all manner of things that they could possibly do. Like, you know, stop an armed robbery or fly a plane if need be. Defend themselves against a group of 5 armed men. But I have never heard of anybody say they can jump over a car quite like Chance described, which was like some sort of Wile E. Coyote type of imagery. He said that he was gonna step on the hood of the car, and then the roof, and then the back. Some real cartoon shit. So I just had to draw that. Also, the car doubles as like an Ian reference, because I heard he has a Porsche, or he loves Porsches or something. I'm pretty sure I've heard something like that. And if you're sitting there saying that it's pronounced Porsche, hey man, go eat a dog's dick. Hey, let me ask you this, who won the war, huh? You know who else said Porsche that way? Hitler. And that actually also triples as a reference to Angela, which really helped me out because I didn't want to draw the imagery she was associated with. If you know the model of the car, you're gonna know the reference. Okay. Next up, we have Noah. Now, Noah was a little bit tricky because for some reason all I could think about was him shirtless. You know, all I could think about was him pouring soda on himself, or like the thing he did where he shifted into a wolf. You know, besides that, he's more known for like roasting people. So I didn't really know how to put that on paper. So I'm just gonna draw him shirtless. Now, one of the easiest people I drew was Shane. From what I've heard, he's also taking a leadership position. People really respect him. So of course I drew him naked. I'm sorry if I'm objectifying him a little bit, but I had to make it a little bit easier on myself, okay? I just had to draw him without his shirt off, and there he is. Also, I think he looks cool. He's holding a sword, he's wearing shades. What more of a leader do you want? Now, I was really stuck on what to do for Damien. For a long time, I thought of some crazy shit, like drawing him as a multi-headed creature, because, you know, my line of reasoning is he has a lot of voices, a lot of faces, but I decided to go against it because everybody else is just normal. And he'd really stick out like as a fucking monster among these people. Up next we have one of my favorite cast members, Courtney. Now I don't know if it's just me, but out of all of the cast members, I think she's the one that's changed the most. You know, in a positive way. I don't know if it's because she seems more confident now, or because, you know, certain people aren't around anymore. Or I don't know if it's because she just feels more comfortable. Whatever it is, she's one of the cast members that's made me laugh the most recently. And from the way that people talk about her, I've gathered that she's taking more of a leadership position at SMOSH. So I wanted to display that and draw her, you know, directing, because I guess this is how directing looks like to me. I also drew a little hoo-hoo right next to her, which, you know, I never really got that reference. I must have missed that video because, you know, it's in merch a lot, and it's a, you know, I've heard it's something that she used to say. I've never heard her say it, but I'm putting it in there. Alright, this next person is a very talented, very beautiful girl. You know, just throwing it out there, because if there's one thing I've learned from Googling these people, is how much fans have taken a liking to Angela. I mean, fans really love her, so, you know, I don't want to say the wrong thing here and have her fans come after me. The angel heads, the Angelinas, whatever it is. All that being said, she was a pain in the ass to draw. You know, like I said, I googled all these people, and ultimately, I regretted it, because it didn't help at all. Particularly with Angela though, because in the pictures I found of her on Google, she was very serious, very model-esque, which ran completely opposite to what I knew of her in the channel, where she's more of a wild animal. So I was kind of at a loss to what to do, you know. Do I just draw her posing, you know, very serious? Or do I draw her sawing a man in half? Two very valid options. In the end though, I just decided to go with something simple. Because I saw a lot more pictures of her and Damien than anybody else in the cast, I decided to draw her taking a selfie. You know, something easy and simple. This also helped me make her more recognizable, since if I drew her with her mouth wide open, you wouldn't have known it was her. Trevor was probably the easiest person I had to draw. I mean, this guy only took like 10 minutes probably. Even less than that. Now I know he likes to bake or cook, or I don't know which one of the two. But I drew him holding a cake. And to make him more recognizable, I drew him with his bandana on. Which, by the way, I always thought he was like brave for wearing a bandana. Because I was thinking of it from like my perspective. Because I would never even think, I've never even thought about wearing a bandana. Because, you know, it just makes me look like a cholo. So in the back of my mind, I was thinking like, wow, Trevor really doesn't care what people think of him. But I guess it's not something that white people worry about. In fact, I googled white people with bandanas, and apparently they just be wearing them. I think it's like a Midwest sort of thing, so that was pretty cool. Up next is Olivia. Now I realized pretty early on that I could draw her however, and it would be like the most Olivia thing. At one point I even considered not drawing her at all. And if I got comments like, oh, where's Olivia? I'd be like, you know, she's there. She's hiding. She's behind the two. But no, I had to draw her. And of course I drew her with her tracksuit on. And she's floating. Because I thought it was pretty funny. Up next we have Keith beating the fuck out of a crab. Because, you know, crab, cancer, you get it. You know, the sizes of these drawings don't reflect how I feel about these people. You know, I don't think anybody is more important than other people. That being said, I did take a little bit more space for Keith because, you know, beating cancer is a pretty big deal. You know, cancer is something that affects a lot of families. It's relatable to a lot of people. And of course, this also applies to my family. So yeah, I took a little bit more space with him. He deserves at least this much. What did you do? Big shit? Okay. Speaking of deserving, we have Mari. Now, let me say something about Mari. The people at SMOSH HQ, the whole cast and crew should have like a morning prayer to Mari. They should have like an altar where they give her offerings. They should really be treating her like a saint. Because while I admit I don't watch as much YouTube as I used to, and by that extension SMOSH, I did used to watch a lot of SMOSH when I was in middle school and high school, and I remember when Mari came on board. And I also remember how she got completely fucking eviscerated in the comments. People fucking hated her. And this was back when the dislike bar was still a thing. Like, you could just see that big red bar underneath the video with just a sliver of green. You know, you gotta remember that back then, the SMOSH community was probably like 90% dudes. So the comments were all along the lines of, "Ew, we said we wanted to see more tits, but not like this." You know, I think she really took most of the heat and softened the introduction of any future cast members. Now, I don't know what would have happened if Ian and Anthony had hired anybody else. But I like to think that SMOSH is what it is today because of Mari. Because it was her, and because she decided to stick around even through all of the hate. She's the reason why SMOSH now gets to have live streams raising money for the LGBTQ+ community instead of, you know, whatever road they were leading towards. Wow, alright guys, thank you so much for joining this live stream. Just a reminder, we're raising money for breast implants for girls with small tits. Whoa! Did you like that transition? Now, Arasha was a bit harder to draw. You know, her claim to fame is being, to put it bluntly, a liar. Which is really not nice. I didn't really want to put that on paper. You know, in reality, she might be like the most honest, kindest person. But you know, I don't know these people, really. All I know is what's been presented to me. So, I drew her in a sheep costume. You know, wolf in sheep's clothing. Now Amanda, you know I had to do it to her. If you haven't noticed by my voice, I had to do Mexican salsa because that is probably one of the funniest clips of cast members past I've seen. You know, that video directly transported me to any uncomfortable interaction I've had with a white person. Oh, you're from Mexico? Oh my god, I love Mexico. I was there last summer. The people were so nice, not at all like what you see on the news. We listened to some cumbia. We danced all night, drank some cervezas. Some
tequila with the salt, flavorful lime, Mexican salsa, yes.
But I know Amanda didn't mean it this way, you know, she was just reporting. Still, I had to do it. It's one of my favorite references, by far. Appearance-wise, I really wanted to nail down some things in some of these people. For Amanda, it was her eyes and her smile. I think those are some of her features that really draw you in. She would have been more recognizable if she still had her bangs, but, you know, some things are for the better. I also drew people that have left SMOSH and have gone and done their own thing. Bose, Kimmy, Sage, Jackie, one of the original trios, Sahinki, Lasercorn, and Joven. And last but not least, two guys who I watched as an 8-year-old in their underwear deep-throating Jesus, Ian and Anthony. You know, Ian and Anthony were actually very important to me growing up. I grew up on these guys, you know, I watched a lot of their videos, almost all of them from the beginning. You know, there were these periods in my life where I would go a long time without watching these guys. Every time I came back, they were there. They have been a constant in my life for 20 years. So, That's a pretty big deal to me. And recently, I've been watching more than ever. You know, I think these guys are great. What they're doing is great. They keep reinventing themselves, not letting anything get stale. Right now, I really think they're at their best. So again, thank you to them, and thank you to you for watching. Now, this next part is not for you, because you watched the whole video, so thank you so much. This next part, not for you. You did a great job.
You fucking piece of shit.
You know how long this took me? This took me fucking days, hours, and you're just gonna skip it? I mean, how did we get here, you know? It used to be that we could talk to each other, face to face. But now, we're on our phones all the time. We can't look up at other people. We're too distracted. Fuck! This is why you can't hold down a job, you fucking asshole. Never tell you this. Just go back, watch the video all over again. Don't fucking pull this shit again. This is why you're not in a relationship. You can't commit. Piece of shit. Of course, I'm just fucking around. If you watched this video in any capacity, thank you. And thank you to SMOSH. Alright, until next time, see ya.